over there. I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. Go, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
WrestleMania season, baby! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy Booking live here on A2DRadio.com in the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants, located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. And you can give them a call at 215-369-3300. Hey, tax season is here, so be ready, be prepared, get Gibson Mayer.
Another great paper slam from Matty over here. Guys, welcome to Lazy Booking. Another week. As he said, WrestleMania season. I am Chrome here with Matty this week as usual. Ryan Brodo killing it over there on the ones and twos. Thank you, Ryan, for all you do.
No problem.
My man. Guys, we are coming off of a pretty news-heavy week. Even things today are kind of coming out. We're going to definitely touch on all that. Elimination Chamber. We're going to review a little bit of Elimination Chamber. Raw and Smackdown. I think we actually had some pretty... for what can be lackluster shows, there were some things that are kind of building us towards WrestleMania. So we'll definitely touch on that. We're going to play a little game that we're going to start over the next few weeks where we're each going to book WrestleMania. We're going to take turns. I think Ryan's going to go first. Ryan's going to give us his card. We're going to do that much more. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We're going to hit our poll question from Scanzano Sports, scanzanosports.com. Who do you want to see John Cena face at WrestleMania 34? Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke Nakamura, or no one? Cena sucks. Obviously. It's a John Cena question. You have to put in the Cena sucks for the peeps, for the fam. So
I'm kind of heavily favoring the last one. That's just my personal opinion, but that's just
Jesus. Me. No. So you don't care who Cena's facing?
Honestly, no, because really at the end of the day, John Cena being who he is, he's just that guy who's been around forever, so you got to give him one out of obligation. You really don't have – it doesn't matter if it makes either logical sense or illogical sense. Just like, well, Cena's been the bread and butter of WrestleMania and for the WWE for the better part of, 10 years? Think?
Well, almost. It's about 15 now.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus. So at this point, it's just like, we got to give him one out of obligation. We cannot not do it. It's like The Undertaker, where we're going to tell The Undertaker, no, he can't have a WrestleMania match.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a staple of the company, whether you love it or not. I'm a Cena guy. I obviously want to see him face Undertaker. I know it's not the popular choice because it's probably 5 or 6 years too late, maybe even 4 years too late. But we'll get into that. We're already hitting off on Facebook's. Facebook's. Join us on Facebook. Join us on YouTube. Join us on Periscope. James Shawhoff III says, does anyone get tired of John Cena getting in? I get sick every time I see the 5 moves of doom.
The 5 moves of doom. Aren't they awesome?
You know what, though? I'm going to say this, and I will stick to my guns on this. John Cena, whether it's a television, is one thing. John Cena always has great matches on pay-per-views. You know who else does? Roman Reigns, and people hate Roman Reigns. Let's be realistic here. So,
there was never any – now, see, here's my reasoning. A lot of people hate John Cena because it's the popular thing to do.
It's the cool thing to do.
But that is not the reason why I didn't like Cena. I stopped liking Cena well before this era because I was tired of seeing him constantly shoved down my throat. Now, here's the thing about Roman Reigns. Like, you can't really hate Roman because – in all fairness to WWE, they've given him the belt, but they've kept it away from him on purpose because they know he's not over. So it's just like, okay, we can't put the belt on him because that's just going to get backlash. So to their credit, they're not necessarily trying to do the same thing exactly with Roman that they did with Cena. With Cena, it was kind of like, he's our top guy, live with it. But when it comes to Roman, they're like, we do have other options. So let's feel this out. Let's try to get Roman a positive reaction before we immediately throw him to the wolves.
But why do guys like John Cena not get second looks? And I say that because wasn't Hogan shoved down our throats for years?
Yeah, but I don't think anything like that really – it was a global thing that took over WWE. WWE just took over the entire wrestling landscape. And, you had Jim Crockett Promotions and WCW, But really, besides Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan was the biggest thing in the entire world, and everybody who knew anything about wrestling, you immediately knew who Hulk Hogan was. And it was new. That really hadn't been seen before. Before it was territories. Before it was like, oh, well, this guy dominated that territory. That guy dominated that territory.
Right.
Hogan was the first guy to do it universally.
Right. But, I mean, even if you go through the eras, there's been guys who have been, you could argue, say were shoved down our throats. The Rock was a guy. Now, The Rock, people gave a second chance to, but, I mean, he was legit the blue chipper shoved down everybody's throat. And, I mean, I can sit back and watch the commentary when he first came out, how rough it was. It's worse than anything that you've heard them as far as shoving Cena or Roman Reigns down your throat.
To be fair, though, they decided to take a chance with The Rock and say, you know what, the babyface thing of him being the clean-cut All-American boy, it isn't working. So you know what we'll do? We won't call him Rocky Maivia anymore. We'll just call him The Rock, and we'll let him be a bad guy. And that was the perfect thing to let him do because that just allowed him to be who he was. That was why they let Austin just do whatever the hell he wanted.
But I feel like it's more indicative of the culture that we're in. And it's not just with wrestling. It's pro sports. It's Hollywood. We build these people up. Like, let's not forget, when Cena came in and he was put over by Angle, and then he was the rapper Cena, and, he was, what was it, Word Life, people loved him. You watch when he won WrestleMania 21, when he won his first title against JBL. I mean, the crowd went absolutely apeshit for him. It wasn't until WrestleMania 22 against Hunter where you could really kind of see the shift happening with Cena. As awesome and you want to see a main event like that at that time when Cena was younger and Hunter was kind of that in the phase maybe where Cena's at now, or even a little bit earlier in his he was a little younger still, but that was the shift, and Cena never got a chance to get back. And again, it's a cultural thing because we build these people up and then we knock them down. And look at Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns was with the Shield, and when the Shield started breaking up, everybody wanted Roman. Roman was over. The Superman punch, the drive-by, all that shit was awesome. So the WWE gives them what they want, and they say, no, we don't want it.
Well,
now you're shoving them down our throats.
See, now the real issue is, and that's why I don't jump on the hating Roman train, where it's just like, oh, well, Roman's a terrible. It's like, no. The reason why I think is because in a lot of ways, people in the audience, they want to do it because it's fun to do. Nowadays, the audiences want to hijack the show. They want to be the show. They don't care about the show. Really, the show kind of becomes secondary. Now, and that's not all audiences, but especially in places like Philly, in places like New York, in places like any of the areas where you get the most wild, rambunctious,
a lot of it's northeast,
crowds.
The northeast, and then Chicago,
yeah. And those are the places that get the loudest.
St.
They get
Louis.
the most fiery. They're the ones who want to hijack the show, and they do in a lot of cases because they'll even talk over when a superstar's trying to talk, which I don't approve of. If you want to start a chant while a wrestler's talking, then if they're that bad and they're that terrible, fine. But if they're a superstar that you like and you like, shut the fuck up, please. Just shut the fuck up and let them talk.
Yeah. All right, Matty. All right. Yeah. Boom. Mic drop. He dropped his own pipe bomb there. Speaking of pipe bombs, so that's a guy, and he's one of the guys that I would look at when you're talking about stupid, needless chants, right? Like, I don't have any problem with people chanting while people are in programs. My issue is doing it with something that's completely unrelated to what's going on and doing it just to troll and be douchey.
Yeah.
CM Punk chants. Guy's not coming back, guys.
I know.
He's not coming back. And again, I mean, that's a conversation for another day. I don't understand why people want this guy back because he bucks the system. I guess that's what we are. But listen, if you go back and listen to his podcast and you hear other stories that have come out, or that podcast with Colt Cabana when he came out and he gave this very deep explanation of everything, I'm sure there's truth there. But you have to understand that everything is by somebody's perception. There has been many accounts that have confirmed some and deny and counterbalance off of what he said and totally took the credibility out of some of the things that he said. But everybody chooses to say, I'm going to go 100% by his words because everything. You got to understand, like, this is a guy who has an ego, clearly. So his perception is going to be a certain way. So The CM Punk chants are completely nonsensical. I hate the what chants. I really hate the what chants.
When they did that to they did it to Ronda Rousey, which I thought was like, she has not even been in the company for 2 seconds, and you're already chanting what at her?
But that's the culture we're in. Everybody loved Ronda when she fought. She got knocked out, and everybody now hates her.
And another chant that I really don't like, and I can understand why it happens more often than not, unfortunately, is the boring chants. Boring.
Yeah.
Because I understand if it's a bad match, sure. Absolutely. I get it. Hell, if it's a bad program, bad segment, I understand it because people are paying money to be there and watching slop. You understand? But at the end of the day, they're chanting it at the wrestlers to where sometimes it's not. It's literally what the wrestlers have been given storyline-wise. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's in some cases, I get it. Trust me, as a consumer, as someone that would be going to a show, I expect a very, very good product. But as well, I wish it didn't happen as often, but also I could say I wish it didn't happen as often because if it didn't happen as often, there'd be more entertaining things happening.
Right, and I mean, I'm not a fan of that either. There are instances where I've seen it, and I'm like, I get it, which was, the 700th time we saw Randy Orton and John Cena main event of pay-per-view for a title. That I got. How many times can you say? And I know that they have a very historic rivalry, and maybe in their era they are the Hogan, Macho Man, and I get it. But unlike back then, it wasn't totally overly exposed because of, I talk about it all the time, 12 pay-per-views, so much content during the week. It was different back then. But I get that. But I do agree though. I think the point of when that's done is not necessarily at the wrestlers. It's to get a message to the company. But still, so I loved that they gave Daniel Bryan that shot at WrestleMania 30, right? And it was great, but it was also one of the worst decisions because they gave the fans what they demanded then, it's like we always expect to get every little thing we want. Like we want to book the show through the crowd, and I don't think that that's logical. I think that's more my issue with that kind of stuff. And that, to me, creates an issue because then you're disrespecting the people in the ring. Regardless of, like you said, what it's booking, it's, whatever storylines are written, listen, they're not all going to be great. How many times do we watch TV shows and we watch them? Not every episode, not every part of the storyline is awesome. You have to tough it through that and just let things play out. And we're a very impatient society now, so we expect to have instantaneous gratification. Mm-hmm. You're just not going to get it, guys.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, the thing about the crowd is that unfortunately that really is what tailors into why Roman kind of became a victim of I'm going to call it the John Cena syndrome because that's basically what it is. You get booed even though you are the guy, and you are the guy that WWE looks to say, yes, you are who we are looking for towards the future. That's what happens nowadays because the crowd wants to have everything they want. They don't want to deal. They don't want to even accept something new, like even something that could potentially work. They don't necessarily want it immediately until 3 or 4 weeks later when it starts to actually have some traction. Then they get behind it. They just immediately hate it right out of the gate. A lot of people do that all the time. They did it to the Woken gimmick. Even though, really, is it Matt Hardy's fault that immediately people just all of a sudden say, oh, they're destroying the gimmick? It's like, no, they're not. Because people are just like, oh, well, it's all, goofy. I'm like, obviously you never watched TNA for 2 seconds. That was always the broken
Which
gimmick.
I can't fault them for.
Well, yeah. I don't blame you for it, but at least go back to YouTube and watch some of the broken Matt Hardy clips.
Yeah.
You would understand why it's goofy,
why
it's over the top. It was always over the top. None of it was supposed to be taken that seriously.
Right.
Just kind of happened.
I would say two things. Number one, when it comes to Roman Reigns and the reason why he gets the negative reaction that he gets, well, I think it goes all the way back to, a handful of years ago, and it was almost probably the worst timing possible, right when he was starting to get his push and Daniel Bryan was on the rise and no one in the WWE really planned it. It was Daniel Bryan was becoming one of the fastest growing over superstars in the history, maybe in the last 10 years, and WWE did not want that to happen. They were in the phase where, okay, Roman's our boy, and they made it blatantly obvious at the same time where Daniel Bryan was doing something so different, so special, so, what's the correct word for it, so interactive with the audience, with the yes chants. Obviously with, I'll say, quote-unquote fans coming into the ring and hijacking a Raw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was so different to where we hadn't seen that. I'm not comparing the two wrestlers by any means, but we really hadn't seen that since Stone Cold, to where it was almost an anti-establishment, interactive fan base type of a gimmick, which was fantastic. Meanwhile, you have Roman Reigns, who's the company boy. Oh, my God, he has the lineage. Oh, my God, he's the powerhouse. We want him to be it. And meanwhile, Batista just randomly comes back, and he's, the big name guy who's going to get a match with Randy Orton for the 8th time. So it was all pushed together.
And also, too, he kind of got hit with probably some of the worst luck you could possibly imagine, because not only was Daniel Bryan on the ascent, and so was Roman, but at the very same time when they officially are going to pull the trigger on him, he wins the Rumble and everything, who loses the Rumble? Daniel Bryan. What happens? Immediately becomes a fan-hated all around the WWE
Rey
universe.
Mysterio came out at 30 and got the shit booed out of him the year before, the year Batista won. And, I mean, when have you ever heard Rey Mysterio get booed?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but which year? Was it the year Batista won it, or was it the year Rey Mysterio came out at 30, where Daniel Bryan had the match earlier in the night, which was like not a 5-star match, but it was a phenomenal match with Bray Wyatt. Remember when they blew the roof off the place?
That was the Batista year, because people expected Bryan to come out at 30, and he never came out.
As like a reward, because they were still hot.
Nuts, yeah.
So that with the Roman thing, I think that's big. And not only as well in the later years, obviously the failed drug test, to where some fans were considering him, he's dirty. He's dirty.
Right,
oh, my
right.
God, he's taking shortcuts. And then as well with John Cena, the reason why I think he has, obviously I wouldn't call it 50-50. There's a lot of people that love him, mainly younger kids or women, and then you have a lot of the males who don't like him. I'm not saying all males hate him, but it's, you know what I'm saying? If we want to go by percentages, it more falls on, younger kids. And
I will say this. I think more of the Cena sucks, and you still are going to have those people that are steadfast on it. It's almost the Kurt Angle, you suck chant now.
Yeah.
A lot of people I do talk to will say, I don't hate him like I used to. I actually don't mind him now. But it's just, it's almost a sign of respect now.
100%.
You expect it.
I think the hatred started because he was not able to evolve. Sure, he evolved a little bit in the ring. Obviously, he added a couple more things, except for the 5 moves of doom. But when you talk about a character, I mean, how many years have we been talking about, how different, how shocking would it be if he turned heel? And I think a lot of it has to do with we don't think it's ever going to happen, so we're going to be stuck with this Cena guy who's the company boy, who's doing all the great stuff out of the ring, which no one can hate, with the Make-A-Wish, with the merchandise, with working with kids, with the movies. Like, that's great. No one hates that stuff. But in the ring, that's why there's still kind of like, big match John.
But let me ask you a question. Hogan, Austin, Rock, all these guys, how many moves did they really have?
I understand.
Yeah.
Every one of them had pretty much a 5 or 6 moves of doom.
I would say this, though.
Go back and watch their matches. I guarantee you see the same repeated chemistry and story.
Here's the thing, though. Again, though, it's all a matter of luck, really, at the end of the day. Look at the draw, if you will. Austin and The Rock, they came along. They were the big boys in the era of the most success for WWE. Because besides them, you had a lot of main eventers to choose from. That was your main eventer. Like mine was The Undertaker. Yours may have been Triple H, or it may have been eventually coming along guys like Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, or Chris Jericho even, Brock Lesnar as well. There were so many guys there at the main event level, like there is now, that could pretty much not be Rock or Stone Cold and were their own unique character, to where that was the guy I always wanted to see in the main event, or that was the guy I wanted to see win, and I would fan out, immediately mark out if he won the championship, which bad or good, because even when Undertaker was a bad guy in 2002, I was still pretty happy he was WWE champion.
I love him, yeah.
So
on that, and that's a good point you make, where pretty much all of the big name stars in history have only had a handful of moves. In my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've always looked at the big move sets from these guys, whether it's the 5-knuckle shuffle or it's the leg drop or it's the big body slam or the stone cold stunner or the people's elbow, what have they all done? What do they all have in common? They directly match the character.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
To where when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, when he was doing the people's elbow, well, sometimes in his career it was getting boos. Sometimes it was getting enormous cheers because it matched heel Rock, Hollywood Rock,
Yeah.
or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with obviously the 5-knuckle shuffle, to where it always gets boos because it's the same thing over and over and over. To where if he actually turned heel and he embraced it, and if he did the "you can't see me" to the crowd, I'd freaking love it. I'd love it. You know what I mean? Because it's
Right.
different, and it's not the same thing we've been stuck with for the last 11 years.
But the argument with that is, and we get back to business.
yeah.
It is a publicly traded company at this point, and if you're not going to like seeing these kinds of characters, then the WWE product is not for you. And I know you're not disagreeing with that. I'm just
Yeah.
making the point and reminding people, because I think that gets lost a lot of times. Cena will never turn heel. At this age, at this point, it would make no sense to do it anyway.
No.
But Cena is never going to turn heel. He means too much to the company, too much to as far as Make-A-Wish and all that different stuff. And whether you get caught up in the storylines or not, when you take a step back and you just look at everything that character and what the message that character embodies, and unlike guys like Hogan where you find out all this other stuff aside from the fact of the character, he's really that guy. Like, that's who he is. He's the hardest worker. He's the first one in the gym and the last one to leave. He's in there working with guys. He tries to mentor young guys. He's that guy. I have no problem with someone being who they are with the volume turned up. With Rock, that was his personality. Austin, their personalities were turned all the way up. Cena happens to be a really good guy when the volume's turned up.
And that's
That's
why,
just who he is.
even though I just spent the last 5 minutes pretty much ripping John Cena's entire character to
Right.
shreds, I like John Cena. I really do, because I would trade John Cena being more popular to kids, especially kids that are sick, in order for him to have the opportunity to help kids and give those kids those opportunities to have a great day or great experience, especially the ones that are sick. Instead of him turning heel and just all of us marking out for a couple months, then getting bored of it.
Right. Now, if you haven't seen it, go online. It was out like 6 months ago. And if you haven't seen it, I'll try to share it on one of the pages. I'll share it on the Lazy Book page. The cricket video with
Yeah,
Cena.
Phenomenal.
Where it's all these people who, over the years, Cena's done Make-A-Wish for, or they've just met Cena, and he's had a few nice, encouraging words for them. Like, if that doesn't move you and show you why John Cena's character will never and should have never and should never at this point ever turn heel, then you're lost.
That's like a top 10 video I've ever seen. Like, it's phenomenal. Like, involved with wrestling.
I
like,
mean, for
it's
Christ's
phenomenal.
sake.
It's phenomenal.
I was emotionally
Me too.
invested
Yeah,
in this video. It was amazing. And people who aren't wrestling fans would say, did you see that video with, like, John Cena? Like, that's legit people who he's done things for over the years.
Did you see it, Maddie?
Actually, no, but
I'll share it for you.
But I completely understand what you're talking about, though. Well, and I get the side of the business side of it now. It's different back then. Not a publicly traded company. And cable wasn't as strict as it is now, so you could get away with a hell of a lot more back then than you can now. Point is that also the era was different. It was the Attitude Era. You were fighting WCW weekly.
Right. You had to do.
You had no choice.
To push the
you
envelope.
had
Right.
to do this. Now it's like there's no competition. There really isn't. And you kind of feel free. Like, Cena doesn't have to turn heel because to what? To satisfy the fans. Well, what does that do to the brand? It really didn't help the brand. So that's the point. It makes perfect sense why you can't do that and why it's actually a good thing it never happened.
And guys, listen.
Hindsight being 2020.
Everybody talks about these huge spots that Cena had, this and that. John Cena hasn't had a real match at WrestleMania since The Rock at WrestleMania 29. We're going into 34. Arguably, you could say the Rusev match, and I think that was important because for a title that many said should have gone away, the U.S. title,
Yeah.
that was a big spot, and it opened up opportunities for people. Now, did Cena go over in most of those or all of them? Yeah, but you know what he did? He put on fantastic matches on Raw, not pay-per-views, with the likes of Cesaro, who was floundering after having won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal the year before, working with guys like Zeb Coulter and shit. Like Cesaro. Oh, he put Sami Zayn on the map. Now, it isn't his fault that Sami Zayn blew his shoulder out doing his ska
5
shit.
seconds into his entrance.
I mean, oh, by the way, Kevin Owens, who he did win 2 out of the 3 matches, but he put Owens over clean in that first match, which shocked the shit out of everybody. Mm-hmm. But that put Kevin Owens on the map, and the momentum for Owens has not stopped. So there's other guys. So let's not forget that he does other things, and you don't always need to lose to put guys over. He put guys on the map by being Super Cena, but giving these guys phenomenal matches.
Well, just as one example, look at what he did with AJ Styles, that whole series.
He put AJ over all over the place.
Exactly, absolutely.
I mean, and now you're getting what you wanted from Cena. He's not winning every match. He loses actually quite a few of them.
Yeah.
He's putting guys over.
He was a transitional champion because the only reason they gave him the belt at Rumble last year was to basically tie Flair, and then he lost it the very following month at Elimination Chamber.
Right.
To another transitional champion.
Right. So, I mean, listen, I just don't get it. I don't get a lot of the Cena hate people who still actually hate him. Not the people who are like, all right, I hated him before, but I'm kind of, past it now. Mm-hmm. I just think you got to look at the whole perspective of it. For me, I want to see Taker. I don't get Rey Mysterio.
No.
Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to see Nakamura. I called it 2 years ago, and I'm sticking with it. Nakamura, the day they signed Nakamura, I said you're going to get AJ Styles and Nakamura to headline WrestleMania within 2 years. This will be the point right now. So I want to see that. I think that they have a chance to eclipse a freaking phenomenal match that they had at Wrestle Kingdom. I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 9. I think it was 9.
Yeah, it
but
was 9.
You have a chance, and for WWE, WWE, especially with all the New Japan stuff going on now with Y2J over there and everything else. If they have a chance to eclipse something that's well known that they've put on their biggest show, there's only one other platform that can be bigger than that, and it's WrestleMania. If they give these guys 30 minutes to 45 minutes, that'll be an instant classic. So for me, it's Undertaker, and I know it's late. It's late in his career. Well, he should be done.
Better than never. We said the same thing about Sting and Undertaker, and we never got to see it.
Ryan made a great point. Ryan said to me the other day, he said, we talked about Sting and Undertaker. Oh, it was too late. But when Sting got hurt, first of all, the night after WrestleMania, if you remember Sting cutting that promo in the ring in San Jose, what did everybody chant? They wanted to see Sting and Undertaker still.
Yep. Sting
got hurt, and what everybody say? Oh, we're never going to get to see that match now. Even though a month before that, everybody was saying, oh, it's so late, and they should have had it, and I don't want to see it now. Once it's gone, you never got the chance to see it. It may not be the greatest thing. Ryan's point said, may not be the greatest thing, but at least I got to see it. It's better than wondering what it would have been like if I never saw it.
Yeah.
People were begging when CM Punk was still in the company. Oh, CM Punk versus Stone Cold. Well,
that would have been awesome.
But that was what, 10 years after Stone Cold retired.
Oh, awesome. Austin was close to 50.
So that would have had the same label, but no one would have complained because they got a chance to see it. We talked about, and this was never a realistic possibility, but we always talk about, oh my God, what a spectacle it would have been to see Big Show and Andre in the match. Like, that would have obviously, if it was even possible, it would have had the label, oh, it's way too late.
Right.
But, of course, that falls into the category of it would have been fantastic to see it. Same thing with Hogan and Cena. I still get text from me like, oh, my God, Hulk Hogan? Remember, like, 3 months ago we were talking about that? As that might be, like, is that a rumor?
People were talking about 31 or 32. Yes. They wanted to see Cena and Hogan.
So if Hogan versus Cena isn't too late.
A guy with a hip replacement.
Yes.
Like multiple hip replacements.
How is Undertaker versus Cena too late? And I understand, like, it is late, but I don't think it's ever too late because we'd rather see it than not.
Like when Wrestler Soul Mae Young went down, he might have inherited her hip after that. But I'm going to get to Facebook. Facebook's blowing up, and then we'll hit YouTube. Yeah. Greg Malakovic says, what's up, fellas? It's Taker for me. I loved how he did it on Raw and his promo. That was cool. I thought the Uso and New Day promo was excellent as well, which I did mention that to you guys. I loved it. Watching SmackDown now from work. Haha. Have fun, boys. Try to stay awake, Chrome. I fell asleep during Elimination Chamber 3 times. It was not my favorite pay-per-view.
I don't blame you.
Well, that's what happens when you play it safe. Nothing exciting happens.
Mike Lipinski says, Taker, but we know that ain't happening now. Don't be so sure. We're going to touch on that momentarily. James Schulhoff again says Nakamura. Adam Aguado says, how can he face anyone? He can't be seen.
That's like my favorite comment. I saw
Love
that.
it.
That's a good one. That's
Love
a good
it.
one.
Love it. Oh, man. I should have put that as the fourth option.
Oh, wow.
Damn it, Adam. I need you on
Here,
creative.
I'll edit it.
Yeah, we got to put you, Adam, we got to put you on
He's
creative
the first
here.
ever
Yeah.
A2D creative team writer. There he is.
Well, I'm fired.
Frank. Yeah, Ryan, you didn't even get a chance. Frank Besby. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Sorry to bother you at work. I love when he says that. I would like the Alliance to end John Cena to go in a match against the Doctor of Thugonomics, but it will be Cena versus Taker at Mania. Expect a proper send-off as Cena would probably get the win and Taker walks off into the sunset
Although
again.
technically he kind of already did, but
Right.
all right.
That's
well,
what he said,
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Dion
two.
Brown plus Rock was very, very good on the mic. He was a show even when he just talked. Greg Wirtz says Mysterio doesn't make any sense, and as much as I love Undertaker, I think it would be a terrible match. Nakamura and Styles needs to be one match and let the magic happen. I say let him enter the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and let him put on a show there. No, nobody puts on a show in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. No.
It's just a 20-minute
Sorry,
time
I love
killer.
you, buddy. Gronk puts on a show there. That's about it.
Yeah, if he can get through security.
It isn't in the Super
I'll never
Bowl, that's
forget
for
that.
sure.
The poor lady. Did you know that story?
Oh, yeah.
right?
She didn't know it.
Yeah.
She didn't know about it, and she was trying to stop him.
And all of a sudden,
And
you
he's
see
like-
a producer just try and grab her hand, like, no, get down. Did you know that, Manny?
No.
You don't. So when Gronk and Jinder Mahal, it was last year, right?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah, it was
pre-show.
last
Yep.
year. Yeah.
When Gronk jumped over the barricade, like one of the I guess it was like the stadium security members that was there. I guess she didn't get the memo.
It was like this little lady, too. It wasn't even like
And
a big
she
chick. It
and
was like
she
a little
comes
lady.
flying into frame, and she starts pushing him over, like trying to get him over the barricade. And all of a sudden, you see just like this little guy, like this I guess he was a producer or
Yeah.
whatever, or like a floor producer, I guess. And he starts trying to grab her hand, like no, and they just cut away. So she thought he was intruding, even though it was a storyline.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was great.
That's some lazy booking right there.
That is.
Dion Brown says Cena is very good with the mic in hand as well. Adam Aguado says Cena is corny. Ed Wynn says Chrome, who's on your shirt? The ravishing one. Rick
Great
Rude.
shirt. It is a great shirt.
Absolutely. One of the greatest heels of all time. Andres Johannes says, my memory's pretty bad these days, but I feel they delivered a Roman a year or two after the fans was behind him. When they finally did give us Roman, it was Vince flavored. I mean, that's a fair argument, but again, the product now is going to have Vince's fingerprints. It's a corporately traded company. We're not seeing the attitude era. We're not going to see these kinds of guys. You're going to the face of the company is going to be a true face.
Well, I mean,
That's just how it is.
now-
It's not the buck the establishment because we have to beat WCW.
nowadays it'll start to calm down because Vince is getting up there, and there has been the talk in the back that he is giving more power to Triple H, to make decisions. So that will probably wash away as we move forward in the next couple of years.
Daniel Bakley. Daniel Bryan reminded you of the average guy. He did, and that's what
Yep.
that was what was so great about him.
Relatable.
Ralph Delavecchio, fellas, what's up? What up, Ralph?
Ralphie.
Justin Valencia, Ray. He wants to see Ray. I know Valencia.
Ray, okay.
Justin Valencia is my dude. He loves his luchadors. He's a good dude. Daniel Bakley, Batista won it that year. That was back when we were talking about the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Bakley, Cena was just was starting. I'm not sure what point we were talking about that, so I apologize for that. Bakley also says Cena would be so great as a heel, but he is stuck making so much money as a face since the kids love him.
Yep.
Nothing
That
wrong
is
with
true.
It's not a problem. It's not a bad problem to have.
Hey, he's got Nikki Bella, by the way, guys.
Good point.
Yeah. I know
Casey
that
Walton, heel Batista, hashtag FTW. Fuck the world. Daniel Bakley, with the spotlight on him as he walks to the ring, Casey, LOL. Casey also says, Greg, sir. Talking about he's friends with Greg Malakovic.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, man, sucks he left because that was some of his best work. Daniel Bakley says Bray Wyatt. Nah, we've already seen that before. We don't need to see that again. That was
Bray will be
WrestleMania.
lucky if he gets
30.
into WrestleMania at this
That was
point.
30. We saw Cena and Wyatt. Daniel Bakley, WWE wants to see if Nakamura can be the next face or if he's just going to be so-so. I think he's going to be fine. I think once the title's on him, too, he's going to be fine. KC says, heel Chrome versus Cena. Book it. I'll take my WrestleMania moment. Hell yeah. Cena better come with Tito as his manager too.
Cena versus Heel Chrome might be better than Hogan versus Cena, in all honesty.
I don't move around too great, but I can move around a hell of a lot better than that.
What it has to be is he has to cut a promo on you and then bring Tito out to be the manager, just to twist
might be a
the
5-star
knife
match.
just a little bit. Just a little
Well,
more.
if Shane McMahon's booking this, I might get Tito as like the special guest referee in this match. So let's hope it's not a SmackDown booking. That's Facebook. Let's hit YouTube.
All right, YouTube. David Rosca, and
David
I can
Rosca.
give you a guess on who he's talking about. Can't believe Mandy Rose was eliminated first at the Rumble and first at the Elimination Chamber.
I can.
Oh well.
Rosca, you know I
poor
love you,
Rosca.
and I love me some Mandy Rose, though.
And then he goes on to say Shinsuke Nakamura for the poll question. And next up, Todd Womack.
What's up, Todd?
What's up, Todd?
Commenting on David Rosca with Mandy Rose being the first limit, saying just like your Chargers, lol. What's good, man? Philly Dilly guys.
Philly Dilly.
Continuing on with Todd, he says, when it comes to booking, it goes both ways. So sometimes you have to ride the hot hand, and at times you have to trust the process.
I like it, Todd.
Trust the process. It correlates to everything,
It does,
Todd. You are
man.
so right.
It does. Next up from Todd. Also, guys, remember when CM Punk had Daniel Bryan and Zack Ryder in the ring saying they are the future of wrestling fans? Don't forget. I do, because I don't ever remember a Daniel Bryant actually in the wrestling
Well,
world.
the reason I remember that because that was in Philly after Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. I have a picture on my Facebook because I had fourth row seats of the four of them standing there with all their titles.
Gotcha.
No, that
now
was,
I remember this.
That
was
was after the TLC pay-per-view, and I believe
was that post or pre-Nexus?
that was
post.
Post,
That was,
okay.
that was
I was
probably
wondering-
a year and a half
That was
post.
an era I'm a little fuzzy on because
Daniel
I
Bryan
was not a fan of that Nexus
Daniel Bryan
storyline.
was Nexus for a day, and then he got fired from the company and brought back.
Oh,
like,
that's right.
yeah.
That's when that happened. That era is hazy because I hated that Nexus storyline. But
it
anyway,
was great until they shitty booked it after a while.
pretty quickly.
Like let's
Yeah.
just to I mean it's random, but let's just hash back. One of the greatest single segments on Raw. It really at the time was so shocking. It was when they were doing a Raw roulette, which used to it was great when Bischoff was doing it. Then it got real corny after a while.
Yeah.
And it was like Great Khali was doing this shit, and it was like it was a terrible Raw. And then when they came out and attacked Cena and attacked Punk, it was legitimately shocking. And if you didn't watch NXT, like I didn't watch NXT then. Like that was when it was the goofy NXT.
It was a game show.
And essentially that's what it was.
Yeah.
I remember being like, "Yo, who are these fucking guys? Like,
Who broke into the building?
like they're beating up announcers. They got Justin Roberts joking his ass out with the tie. They're beating everybody up at ringside. They're tearing the ring apart. It was awesome.
And
And
then
then they killed it a month later.
Yeah, because then they put CM Punk in there. They had Cena get involved, and they had him win the tag titles with, I believe it was David Otunga or something like that.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was really
It
weird.
got
when
corny
they got
real fast.
overbooked
My
like that.
favorite part of that invasion was actually nothing that happened on TV. It was the stories, hearing like in either shoot interviews or whatever, in the years past, because there are so many stories about who knew about it, who had no idea, who actually got leaked some information. It was very interesting how they planned it, because I feel like obviously they kept a lot of things secret back in the day. Obviously, it's not something they invented yesterday by any means, but I think they used that to where the way they structured it, keeping secret, information except for a couple people, into how they do it now. Because you hear a lot now to where they don't tell a lot of wrestlers what's happening in, like, for example, the Ronda situation. Like, no one knew. To where, like, I feel like they use that a lot now when you compare it to, 10, 15 years ago, it really wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point on that one.
Bakley says I was around the pipe bomb moment. I think you were talking about with CM Punk and
Zack
Ryder.
Ryder.
and all that.
Okay, that makes sense. And now, next up from Todd, saying that's what made the Attitude Era so great. So many main eventers, up-and-coming guys at the same time during that period of time, which was the height of WWE.
The main event picture was phenomenal.
The mid-card was terrible.
The mid-card was awful.
Oh, man.
And I'm telling you, if you're like a hardcore wrestling fan and like you can go back and sit and watch some of the Raws and stuff, I know people that do it. If you do it, I'm telling you, you're going to see how awful it was. It just wasn't good. There were stars that came out of it, but it was not good.
Well,
and some tags, there were good tag teams that came out of that as well. The Acolytes, the APA.
The APA, New Age Outlaws.
The Outlaws. Yeah, there were good tag teams that came out of that. You also had, like, Naked Midian and Viscera.
And Beaver Cleavage and, all that.
Beaver Cleavage.
Yeah.
Those promos were they're just uncomfortable.
That is the moment where
it's like his mom, with huge cleavage in his face.
Yeah, the incest angle that thank God they scrapped that after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But still, the point is though that was the moment the Attitude Era kind of jumped the shark on that one because even the crowd at the Attitude Era was like, okay, that's gone too far.
I think we found our line now.
Yeah, I think we did.
I think incest is where we draw the line. I think it was incest and Kane having sex with a cadaver was like we finally found our line.
Oh God, yeah, that was fun stuff.
So Todd Womack just put in here, said Cena versus Taker at WrestleMania is a must. If not, then Strowman after he wins the Andre Rumble. What do you guys think? And then he says if Ray is going to be at WrestleMania, he needs to be in a cruiserweight match, and they can debut Ricochet.
He says the same thing on YouTube about that.
Yeah.
That's what he read off of.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean, it's interesting. So
he's everywhere.
So he's kind of touched on a lot of our points that we were going to plan to get into. What was the one with Braun? I'll hold off because we're going to get into a little bit with Roman.
Mm-hmm.
The one I'll say about Cena, I was reading, and if you follow the Wrestling Observer, they're a credible source. They're just a very well known credible source. They are not backing down off of it being Undertaker and Cena. In fact, they're speculating that it could be WWE who's leaking Rey Mysterio's name to throw us off the trail, which I totally believe that. I remember hearing the other day when I saw him, like, everybody's reaction is the same. It makes no sense. First thing I said to you today when you came in and I told you about it, what do they have to feud over? There's nothing. There's no point to that. Now, what I can look at with that is Rey Mysterio right now with where he's at, and we'll touch on that. Apparently, has plans to meet with Hunter this month. The hang up with him signing his contract is they want him to work full time, and he says, "No, I'm not working full time. I'm not." I think he's in his 40s at this point now. He just doesn't have it in him to work a full time schedule. I don't blame him. He's in phenomenal shape. But there's other places you could utilize him. I know I said to you earlier, if Enzo was still with the company, what a perfect opponent he would have been for Enzo. But taking that away, it just makes sense to me that the Observer is reporting that would be a smokescreen. He's a guy we just saw, so we know he's involved with the company. So there could be a credibility to that rumor. But you look at it, it just doesn't make any sense. And from what they're saying, barring a setback with training or an unforeseen circumstance where Taker says, I'm just not going to do it, they is still expected to be Undertaker at WrestleMania with John Cena.
You would think it'd be a slam dunk that it would be, considering the fact that Ray does make no sense because what would Ray's position against John Cena be? It's like,
you took the title off of me that one Raw where I won it, and then you won it from me at the end of the same episode.
Even though Kane did the same thing to me, like with the Money in the Bank,
yeah.
It's just like Ray had 3 reigns that lasted 5 minutes. So
there's only one way they can spin it, and it's not even a storyline-wise. It would basically be John Cena pretty much the week before WrestleMania. He says, okay, well, Vince, Triple H, I've been told by higher management that the only way I can have a WrestleMania match is to show up in the ring in WrestleMania and offer up an open challenge. Because he did the same thing with the U.S. title. Mm-hmm. So then WrestleMania, or maybe they do it on Raw so they can try and get an extra couple ticket sales.
Right.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to stand in the ring. Who wants some, come get some. And then it's Rey Mysterio. Like, I think that's the only way they can spin it to where it's like, okay, Ray's back. Hey, we knew this.
Yeah, that would be
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the only way they can spin it.
Yeah, totally
fairness,
not a
that's
surprise.
probably the best way to book it, but it's terrible.
You know why? But you know why it is the best way to book it? Because there's no storyline. Because any storyline would either be thrown together in 5 weeks, or it just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
garbage.
Now, when is the final match for the Cruiserweight title?
It's supposed to be at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Yeah, that screwed up.
Because I was going to say, well, I would have said, I mean, if it's beforehand, after the winner wins the title, you could have had Mysterio appear on 205 Live and basically do a stare down with the new champion in the ring, and then set that up as a Mania program to get them over even more so. Whoever it is, I haven't even followed it. To be honest, Roderick Strong would have been a good option. He's in the tournament, right?
Yeah. I mean, not to go off on a tangent about the cruiserweights, but I think it's such a shame that they're trying their best to they're going to build up to WrestleMania and the new champion will be crowned there. It's a shame because it's probably going to be the first match on the pre-show, kind of like they did, with Aries and Neville, and those were two bigger names. Right. It's a shame.
And the sad part is they had more validity to be on the main card that year than this year. It just shows you that they did not progress. They regressed.
Brian
Atard
says the problem with Cena in WrestleMania 34 is that we've seen the majority of the main guys against Cena already, except the one guy who probably can't do it now, Undertaker. Again, I'm gonna choose to believe the Wrestling Observer, who majority of the time is right. They have their finger on the pulse. He also says Cena Mysterio would be the worst. Yes, it would. And Rob Brinkman, our buddy over from Sports Hounds, he says John Cena shouldn't face anyone. Tired has been. I usually fall asleep once his music hits. Come on, Brinkman.
Oh, come on. You don't get into the John Cena sucks.
Right. That should liven your ass up a little bit. Come on, Brinkman.
Come on
Cena's
now. You got to do the John Cena sucks.
That comment loses any credibility when he says tired has been.
Yeah, I know.
He's still the number one guy in the company.
That implies.
And that's not forced. Listen, Cena's been losing, and guess what? His merch still sells more than anybody else's.
The line that Cena said when he was in a feud with Roman Reigns, when people were like, "Oh my God, was that real?" and people were thinking it was real because it's the truth.
Yeah.
The reason why Cena's still around, it's because other guys couldn't do their job. And I'm not just saying mainly Roman because I know that's what he said in the promo. Listen, if someone was beyond outstanding and got the company backing, I don't think Cena would be needed as much. Sure, he'd be around because he's John Cena, but he wouldn't need to be the top guy because we've been saying, it's the year of Roman. It's the year of this guy. It's the year of this guy. No one's been able to overtake John Cena. It's a shame.
No, and the only guy who's giving him competition now, and it's a shame because it's later in his career, AJ Styles.
AJ, yeah. Yeah,
I would put AJ's a guy who's carrying SmackDown because SmackDown stinks. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest, SmackDown stinks.
That's what happens when you do a superstar shakeup and you take all the talented guys and you throw them off of SmackDown and you put them on Raw. That's pretty much what happened. Oh, and you give the SmackDown guys a few talented people.
Brian says you could possibly do something around Cena versus Dolph involving Nikki, given her real life story with Dolph. But I agree. I think it was Ryan Brodo by saying that the story would be thrown together way too haphazardly. I mean, we've seen Cena and Dolph. I think at this point, if you're going to see something with Cena, it's Undertaker or it's to position another talent. He essentially takes over the Undertaker legacy match of putting a young guy, whether he wins or loses, and giving them a high spot.
Well, I think there's three options. The two you said and the one I think we'll get to in a little bit later.
Yeah. And going on with continuing what Todd Womack said here on YouTube, final comment, he said, if Cena did turn heel, he's got to have a black and white T-shirt. And
he has no black and white. Everybody has a black and white T-shirt except for John Cena. That's a good point.
And then moving on, one last thing he said, Cena versus Taker at WrestleMania is a must. If not, then Strowman. So,
Kristen, is my mic on?
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, I can't hear it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Sorry, that's better. Okay.
He's back. He's back.
I'm back, guys. Kristen Gideon says, "Hey, I would like to see Cena and Undertaker. We haven't seen them wrestle in a long time, which is true. I mean, when Cena was a young pup, man, that promos were great. If you ever get a chance, guys, if you if you don't like Cena now, but you want to see like a great series of clips of Cena early in his career, Doctor of Thugonomics, one of the best best DVDs that they've put out, swear to God, is John Cena Word Life. They go through every one of the rap promos he did. They go through some of his vignettes that he did, like The Undertaker at his the gravestone. They go through. They have some of his early matches, including ones in his first time when I think it was the American Badass then, or whatever he was. Dead Man Inc.
In 2003.
It was Dead Man Inc. However many.
He was still the biker.
However many biker Undertaker gimmicks there were. It's great. If you ever get your hands on it, and usually if you can find it, Sometimes you can find in like a bargain bin at like a Tunes or something, pretty cheap. Definitely pick it up. James Wilder says, for Cena to stay interesting for me is to flip him to heel, but he's clearly going for never flip career. James, you can't flip him, buddy. You just can't flip him.
Dave Roska chimed in, WrestleMania 34, John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
No, dude. This WrestleMania?
He says WrestleMania 34.
That's this one, yeah.
Oh, no, David. Oh, no.
Wait, and that's what he wants. That's what he wants.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
but you would want to see that over AJ Styles and Nakamura? I got to ask because I can't fathom that. And it's not even that I wouldn't want to see Cena and Nakamura, but you have AJ Styles and Nakamura teed up at this point.
I'll go under the narrative that he had a typo and he meant WrestleMania 35. If so, I definitely agree. Like next year's WrestleMania, like sure, that'll be great.
Well, James Wilder says I could see Cena taking over the legacy match as well. He was agreeing with what I said.
I think that's a great point.
That I think if you get Taker and Cena this year, Taker's done. Cena now becomes the legacy match.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to see the fantasy match. I mean, we've seen him and Nakamura on SmackDown once, but it was a good match, by the way. But you would get the opportunity to like see him in matches that with guys that you haven't seen or it's been a long time who are now starting to establish themselves. Maybe you talk about Kevin Owens. They had that feud a while ago. I think Kevin Owens is going to have a huge year going into next year, especially if they do a face turn.
Yeah.
That could be a match down the line where Kevin Owens is now the top guy or second top guy or third, whatever. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. There could be guys coming up. We don't even know. We're not even thinking of right now who could come up. A CN. I love CN, by the way. And the guy's a friggin' worker in the ring.
He's going to be an absolute star. And I did not like him when he came in either. He
No.
completely changed my mind on him, which is great.
CN faced Johnny Gargano at NXT Brooklyn.
Yep.
And that match was off the freaking charts. And that match, from then on, CN turned it up another notch, and he has been phenomenal. And having Selena Vega with him has been huge as well.
Well, it shows how much they trust in him and believe in him going forward because after he had that, and I don't know if they were just trying to capitalize on all of the buzz from that match, but they had him show up literally the night after and enter the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
To where it shows that they trust him to put him in that spotlight so early in his career, and two, they trust him after that big moment in that pay-per-view, which I think is absolutely fantastic for his career.
Brian Atard says, if Hogan can be flipped, anyone can be flipped, but we are many years away from that. Here's the difference. WCW needed to do something different to compete with WWE.
Yes.
They needed to do something absolutely shocking. And that was what you needed to do. At this point, and especially where society is, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That was 22 years ago. You're just not going to get that. They weren't publicly traded companies then. You didn't have I don't think Hogan ever meant as much. And I look at it now. Hogan never meant as much to people as John Cena's character does now.
No, because I think of all the extra. Like
and
we
that's
talked
what
about.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at. I'm not talking movie career and superstar that way. We're just talking about purely the message that he and that relates to people.
Well, the funny part of it is too is that Hogan's gimmick, obviously like Cena's, it got stale and no one didn't want to see it anymore. But here's the thing, though, Hogan was able to kind of be this laid back, I don't give a fuck kind of heel. And Cena wouldn't be that kind of heel. Cena would be more of the heel where, not only am I the king, but I can beat your ass, and I will beat your ass. Hogan was kind of like that cowardly, laid-back kind of heel that would run away from a fight. I don't really see Cena doing that nowadays. I wouldn't. Hogan could have pulled that off because that's how Hogan easily worked around it, with the NWO being the stable that protected him, too.
Right.
I don't see that working the same way it worked with Hogan because they had all these guys around him. Hogan easily cut the promos, obviously, and he could play the cowardly guy. As for Cena, I don't know if he could get away with that anymore these days.
I'm going to follow up on that. I want Ryan to go. He actually did. I like Atard's next part. Though, go ahead first.
The one thing I'll say on your point of how you had said that Cena's character may have meant more than Hogan's, the one thing I'll give slack to Hogan, obviously, it comes with the same thing of when, outside of wrestling, when you compare LeBron to MJ and the characters and stuff. When you talk about comparing the character of Cena and the character of Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan did not have the capability or by any means the opportunity to really engage with the powers of marketing through social media, spreading a message, obviously all of the extra stuff, the Make-A-Wish. He didn't have that opportunity for the big stint of his career. Cena does. To where I feel like if you put that character of Hogan in that entire career of Hogan in today's world, I think it's real. I think it would be more of a fair comparison. I get what you're saying. I completely do. It's just Cena's message and Cena's character is so big, I think also through all of the other stuff he does through marketing and all that other stuff.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that actually feeds into my response to him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference, though. Hogan is a guy who, let's be honest, is an asshole. He was tough to work with behind the scenes.
Ego.
He didn't want to put anybody over. He was a money guy. He was all about, I'll do it if we can make big money. That was Hogan. John Cena is a different person. Hogan was able to take another side of his real-life personality, ramp it up, and pull the NWO thing off.
And he also had a little thing called creative control in WCW.
A lot different. And to your point with social media, little bit of social media now, how much stuff do you see about Hogan over the years?
Oh, I agree.
With his kids, with his wife, with the things that he says, which are out of control at one point. Mm-hmm. And I love Hogan. Listen, I give the guy the benefit of the doubt. But he's in an era where that exposure is there, good or bad. There's been a lot more bad than good.
So your point, I understand your point. You're saying that the extra stuff almost canceled out all of the great messages that Hogan portrayed on the air because of the real Hogan. Now that we know, it kind of cancels it out.
And nowadays, John Cena is in much more of a light with all these distractions, movies, and everything. Mm-hmm. At the peak, you don't hear a bad thing about John Cena.
No, that's a good point.
Not a damn thing about John Cena. So, as good as that exposure can be, it can be just as bad.
No drug tests.
Not
even a freaking drug test. You know what I mean?
Cena's been squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Hogan, negativity. And I love Hogan.
Yeah.
But my man, brother. I'm just saying, that's the difference. But I did like Brian's idea here. He said,
it's a great point.
well, Cena as a third man, quotes, in a potential Kenny Omega NJPW invasion angle would be a perfect way to turn him. But they won't do that. Agreed. If you could do something kind of like really unexpected, and again, you're talking about like a Kenny Omega and Cena, like that would. I know we always say, well, it's been done before, but I mean, in wrestling, everything's recycled. If they could pull that off, I might get on board with that. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I don't want to see Cena turn heel. I like who he is. I like what his message is. It's just not good business. Sorry. So let's take our break here. Mm-hmm. We're gonna take a break. We really didn't even get into much of the rundown.
That first hour went flying.
It went flying by. But we're definitely on the other side. We'll do a little bit of Elimination Chamber. We'll touch on some of the points of Raw. Ryan's gonna book WrestleMania for us. We got Bobby Lashley signing. We got a couple guys that might be returning. Some other big news. Fox Network. Other things that are coming on the other side. So make sure you hang with us. A 5-minute break. Maddie's going to give us a little sponsor read here.
All right. Well, this was brought to you by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located at 703 Black Horse Pike, Englandor, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-939-2030. Email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com.
Stick with us. We'll see you on the other side.
I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to the Lazy Booking Go. It's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy Booking live on A2DRadio.com, live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Brought to you by Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com.
Another great paper slam, Maddie. I'll tell you. Guys, we're back. We're going to keep going with where we were at. I mean, obviously, you guys took over the show in the beginning. We love it. Take over everything here, guys. This is your show. Getting back to the Scanzano Sports poll question. Who do you want to see John Cena face at WrestleMania 34? Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke Nakamura, or no one? Cena sucks. That's kind of what led up literally the entire first segment.
Yeah. Just because of a little comment that was made at the beginning of the show
That's all right.
by
We love
this
it.
jackass right here.
We love
You
it.
started it, Matty.
Yeah, and then
It's
it
all
all
your
just
fault.
tailspin out of control. God damn it.
We love it, though. On Facebook, Kristen Gideon said, I thought the Elimination Chamber was good. Favorite match, I would have to say, was the men's chamber match. Again, I fell asleep on Elimination Chamber 3 times. I did not make it through. The only thing I made it through was the Rousey segment. I made it through the women's match in the beginning. I made it through the women's match. I made it through the Rousey segment. That was it. I might have fallen asleep in and out everything else.
Well, I mean, in your defense, I mean, all the other matches besides the Elimination Chamber matches were pretty much just throwaways.
Right.
And
I
that's how it was.
actually think when we had Titus Worldwide against
the bar.
I couldn't even think of who it was. Jesus, that's how bad it was. I think we switched over to Sixers game at that point.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, which in turn wasn't a very good decision either.
No,
'cause
it
they played terribly
I
that
can't
night.
win.
By the way,
I can't win.
I'm not this time. I'm not going to ask mid-show how the Sixers are doing because we know how that usually happens, Grum.
Yeah. We're not gonna get into that kind of stuff.
No, we're not.
But no. So let's talk about the Rousey segment and then kind of segue into the Raw follow-up. Obviously, a little rough on the mic to start. I expected that. I'm not shocked. But we got our answer, pretty much, without having it yet. If you take that, and which, by the way, she was rough on the mic the first night. I thought much better on Raw. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was. I thought she made strides from the previous appearance.
Well, I think the thing was, I don't think she was accustomed to the crowd. I think the crowd, they were chanting very heavily while she was trying to talk. I don't think she was ready for that. It was like, you got to give a moment for the crowd to die down. I know it's a lot to ask in these crowds these days, but give them a moment to calm down and then go through your spiel.
Well, I think also I wouldn't say she broke character, but I don't think she was really expecting the pro Rousey chants, the optimistic Rousey chants to where she started smiling, and I think a lot of that, like I even go back to when she initially debuted, at the Rumble, and when she was smiling, part of me thinks, was she even supposed to do that? Maybe because again, we knew she wasn't going to be the best actress right away. We knew she wasn't. She's more of a fighter, not a performer, obviously. I mean, gosh, she started in the UFC, not in the WWE, so it's going to take time to transition into that. To where I'm wondering, hey, was she even supposed to come across as smiling, or is she supposed to be frowning the entire time, like she's the tough fighter that she is? So I think when she started smiling, she kind of recovered after that. I think she was trying to pick up the pieces from it. But on Raw, listen, we said weeks ago that if we manage our expectations in the beginning, I think it'll be fine. To where if anyone's expecting her to be outstanding on the mic, a superstar, I think they're going to be very disappointed.
Well, that's the beauty of her, is that she has such a reputation in the UFC as being one of the toughest women in the world that you don't even need her to be. That's the beauty of it. You don't need her to say a damn thing. And literally all she had to do was say she was going to rip Stephanie's arm out of her socket, and the crowd just repeated it right after that. That's all she had to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just be a badass. That's all you need to be. And it's interesting now when you talk about the rumors with Brock having used up his dates and essentially no showing Raw, which was a whole other story and cluster. But when you talk about that, the point's been made. Give her Paul Heyman. What a perfect transitional person for her would be Paul Heyman. Talk enough when you need to, and let Heyman be the mouthpiece.
But to piggyback off of that with the Brock Lesnar thing, and I'm going to correlate this because I did this at the beginning of the show when you and me were talking off mic. Back in '97, Bret Hart was WWE champion. Vince McMahon put the belt on him at the end of SummerSlam, knowing Bret was going to be done by Survivor Series. And at no point, you have until November from August, at no point it didn't occur to you to say, you know what, maybe I should take the belt off of him so that way he doesn't hold it hostage on me. The same problem that was there is kind of the same problem they have now, because at no point, it's like Lesnar could be a dick, and he's currently possibly being that right now.
That could be, yes.
Point is that he's got the belt. Like, you just pigeonholed yourself because you just ran out of dates. You didn't think maybe we should have taken the belt off of him before this problem occurred?
Well, it goes back to what Paul Heyman always says. Either if he's, interviewed by TMZ, whether he's on Raw, whether he's in an interview on the network, he says one thing and it's consistent. Brock Lesnar goes where he wants and he does what he wants. And unfortunately, it's true.
And he says he's a prize fighter. He doesn't he doesn't give it away for free.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like, not at one point, no light bulb went off in the head. You'd be like, oh shit, his contract dates are up come WrestleMania. We need to take the belt off him. We need to do it now, because if we don't do it now, what are we going to do at WrestleMania? And now look at the situation you're in, which obviously there's more to it. We'll get to that in a little bit later.
Yeah, so I was okay with it. I thought Kurt Angle was very interesting. Did you see the guy getting arrested over Kurt Angle's head at Elimination Chamber?
Yeah,
pretty funny. Yeah, the police carrying the guy down the aisle. That was pretty funny. But Ryan called it. He said Kurt Angle. It was interesting, just random. So when you watch the pre-show, and they interviewed Kurt Angle like a one-on-one thing, and he was just kind of like, we're really honored to have Ronda, and I think this will be a really great opportunity, yada, yada. And then just to kind of fast forward and see him kind of just like, oh, Hunter and Steph, you amaze me. And I mean, I liked what he said. I thought it was like in a kind of comical, but like a good way to position the story. But it was just so funny when I was thinking, I was like, oh, yeah, like, why wouldn't he have any indication or be all weird about it before on the pre-show? Mm-hmm. But, I digress. Listen, that's nitpicking. But I think Angle's the perfect guy to team with her. I think you called it the gold medal or the Olympians. He's a great trainer. He could train her, too, leading into this match and put together a match that could, fit her strengths, whatever they are right now.
I just said from the very beginning that Kurt Angle was one of the few, if not the only person that could have went immediately into a role as a mentor, as someone that could show her the ropes, and it makes sense. Like, sure, if they wanted to try and make almost like a risk and try and get Dwayne back, like, sure, that would make sense given Dwayne's Dwayne, and, he's a big star. He's been in the WWE for a long time. He's a big star, period, just in pop culture. You could have spun it like, oh, okay, it's Braun Strowman. He's a monster. Rousey's very tough. She's a prize fighter, all those things. And that could have made sense if they spun it correctly. Even we went back to like a wild card thing if they even wanted to give Seth the thing, just so, oh, he's an experienced wrestler. The history with Triple H and Steph. I just looked at it all along where it's like, well, Kurt Angle way back was rumored, and it looked like they were trying to tease something with him and Triple H. Triple H is going to be involved somehow with the Rousey storyline because anytime Steph is involved, Triple H is involved, to where if you put the two together to kind of kill two birds with one stone and almost to give Rousey an extra couple months to get really ready to be in a singles match, because it's a lot to ask in your first match on the biggest stage in the world to do a singles match.
Yeah, that's the important thing, is to protect her, because again, like we said last week, it's one thing to go into a octagon and basically your job is to beat the crap out of the other person. It's different when you get into the wrestling ring and you're like, okay, your goal is not to hurt anybody, and if you do a botch, you may get some heat, and that's not something you want.
And I know they kind of want to protect Kurt as well. I mean, God, even when he was kind of thrown in last second into the the Shield, the Shield ladder match, everyone was worrying like, oh my God, his first match is going to be in a friggin' ladder match, and even you could tell here, like, they took him out for 75% of the match, and then they brought him back in. to where even now they're going to be protective. So I think it just made perfect sense given storyline, and they wanted to be able to protect Kurt given health, and they wanted to protect Rousey given they wouldn't know if she was ready yet.
No, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good call on you. I think it's I'm interested in the program, and then obviously we had the little cheap shot on Raw from Hunter on the way out of the ring.
The most powerful sucker punch in the history of wrestling.
By the way, if you notice it, it's so bad because they shot it at the wrong angle. You can completely see that it was botched. It was a botched punch.
But I'll tell you what, Kurt sold the shit out of that punch.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He was down on the ground for a little bit.
So, damn. Sometimes I just wish the cameraman, they would just be like, nope, don't shoot it from that angle, because just by the off chance he doesn't catch the cue in time, it's going to look like shit.
Well, if we want to go technical here, it falls on the producer because he queued up that camera.
That is a good point. Yes, not the cameraman's fault.
Just producers sticking up for producers.
No. I got you on that one. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
though,
no, I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Come on, you've been doing WWE for how long? You should know this angle by now.
So we're talking booking and we're lazy booking. So let's talk lazy booking here, because I actually really enjoyed the women's Elimination Chamber match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What I took issue with, and again, it just didn't make sense to me. If you're going to turn Sasha, do a complete turn. Or if you're going to turn Bayley, do a complete turn. But they have her kick Bayley off, and I'm like, okay, this is finally going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of went through the whole match that way. But I knew instantly when Alexa won, and they had Sasha sit there with the crying face, pouting, trying to get sympathy for her. I was like, this ain't a complete turn. They're going to carry this shit out on Raw. I hated that part of it. Like, at that point, if you're turning Sasha, leave the ring. That's it. She lost. She got pinned. Whatever. Come back. Then they're all buddies, and they come out together the next night. Now, obviously, we saw what Bayley did. But here's
my problem with that. It's like, first off, I understand why they decided to have Sasha do it then instead of wait until they teamed up and eliminated Alexa, because you obviously want Alexa to keep the belt. That isn't my issue. My issue is if you're going to do this and you're not going to do a complete turn, wouldn't it make more sense then to just, instead of letting it play out on Raw, why don't you just have the two fight each other and then have Alexa sneak her way out of the match? Think about it. That's kind of what happened with Bayley, but why didn't Bayley – it's a no DQ match, so why didn't she just attack Sasha immediately? Just be like, okay, screw you then. And she costs Sasha the match. Alexa walks away with the win. She's still champion, and now you have your official battle that can go on Raw. You don't necessarily know who's heel or babyface, but you know something's going to happen next night on Raw. They completely killed it. Either way of the situation, it was completely annoying the way they decided to play that out.
Yeah, and then you have Bayley jump off the apron, but she stays around and then goes in.
Well, you could see her in the background,
Asuka.
like, why are you still here? You know, like you could see her when the match was still going on. In the background, you see Bayley. I'm like, what?
The announcers made a very good point. It's because she was still friends with Asuka that she had to stay out there. It's like, oh, come on now. There's no reason
She has no
for you
connection
to
to
stay out
Asuka.
there
She got-
to help Asuka.
She got
no
freaking
point.
tapped out by Asuka in NXT.
Yeah.
So why is she friends with her?
Yeah, first of all, Asuka doesn't need your help.
No,
Second of
no
all,
one's ready for Asuka.
Nobody's ready for
Asuka.
No one ready for Asuka, damn it. No one.
Listen.
It's just like, I don't know. Like, this is what happens when you overbook shit.
And then Sasha, after, and Bayley stands there. Sasha just takes it and sits there and looks at her.
She's shocked.
I'm
Like,
like, get up
Hold
and
on.
punch that bitch in the face. Come on, do something.
Oh, you know what I love too about Raw? Sasha had the gall to be shocked
I
that
know.
Bayley jumped off the apron. I'm like, why do you look shocked?
It just
you
happened.
shouldn't be surprised by this. What?
But that's your girl.
I know. I'm like, what the?
That's your girl.
Okay, listen, that isn't not necessarily her fault. I'm going to blame the booking on that one.
That's a good point.
Her botching is on her. Them overbooking the storyline, that's on them. That's a completely different
pretty
story
bad.
right
Listen,
there.
I may have jumped the gun by saying this. This entire thing that they've been building, they have completely botched it. It is ruined. I have no interest in it anymore because
with you.
this time, last year, if not last year, 2 years ago, they were building to it. People were having discussions behind closed doors like, oh, is this the moment? Are they going to turn it? Because the only way it would have worked, and it wasn't complicated, because it looked like they were planting seeds like it would happen, is that in the biggest opportunity in Bayley's career to win the women's title, Sasha would screw her. And they never did it. And to where now, even when freaking Corey Graves, and it's not his fault when he said, I told you so, I knew it, but that's the whole point. Corey knew it because we all knew it. And the fact that it's going to be played out and that he's going to happen, Elimination Chamber, but they're on the same team the next night. No. The only way they could have saved it was end it the way they did Elimination Chamber, have Sasha, do what she did. The next night, Bayley comes out, or not even Bayley, it doesn't have to be her, it could be Sasha. Sasha comes out, and the whole storyline, they can have a little graphic going in the commercial. Why, Sasha, why? Why did you do it? Even though we knew why she did it, they could have still played that out. But instead, it's like, oh, I'm turning on you. No, I'm turning on you. No, I'm turning on you.
And here's an even more annoying side of it. Along with that, they had planted seeds so long ago as last year.
Yes.
And here's the thing. They had 2 opportunities to do this, and they fucked it up twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough when you do it once, but you did it twice. Last year, after WrestleMania, Bayley was still champion by the end of it. This was during the Superstar Shakeup, and Alexa Bliss just happened to come out, and then that changed everything. But at that moment, Sasha came out on the mic, called out Bayley, turned to Bayley, and it looked clear as day that she was telling Bayley, your moment at WrestleMania is over. It's my time to get my respect. I want my shot at you one-on-one. And it looked like, okay, they're actually going to finally go through with this. That didn't happen. And then later on in the year, same thing happened that Brodo brought up. Mm-hmm. And they still didn't do it. And then they didn't even do it 2 weeks ago on Raw when they could have done it then. They had Nia come out and take both of them out. I'm like, guys, it's not that hard. It really is not hard to do a heel turn. You don't have to reinvent the fucking wheel here. You really don't.
Luigi Cicciari says, I'd like to see him lose, talking about Cena, I'd like to see him lose to the Brooklyn Brawler.
That would be swerve.
What about Abe Knuckleball Schwartz?
That would be one hell of a swerve. Yeah. have a like you could have like a half gimmick thing.
Yeah.
Nah, that would be great. But no, I mean my thing is, with this scenario, they tried to do a slow burn, and WWE does this sometimes. Sometimes they jump the gun a little bit. They jump the shark and do it a little too quick. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they do it. They wait too long for the payoff to the point where we're just not invested anymore. And that's kind of where it's at now. Now, for a second, they had me at Elimination Chamber. And then as soon as I saw Sasha sitting there, I said, all right, you know what? I don't have any interest in this. I lost it. Mm-hmm. If Sasha's not – like, Sasha's the one that needs to turn heel. I know people talk about Bayley. I think Bayley can still work as a face. But Bayley's great as a face when she has a great foil to go against. That is Sasha. There hasn't been anyone who's been, as far as a program, a great foil for her. When you look at NXT, they were able to do that with the women. There's so many different personalities now. You have to find the perfect chemistry. Sasha has nothing going on right now.
No. Yeah.
Why would you not? She hasn't had anything going on for months.
Yeah.
And she's a much better heel.
Yes.
Okay, I think when they turned her face, it was a nice change. But in the end, it's very easy to say, you know what? This ain't working.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
To be fair, though, when they did initially turn her face, it was because they had one of the best heel females on Raw at that time, being Charlotte. So that was the perfect antithesis of it.
Exactly, and I 1,000% agree with you. That worked. But then now you're going months with nothing to do.
That's when she had something
and then
going
now
on.
you have Bayley come in. It's just common sense.
Bayley's character is the best. And I was never a huge fan of the Bayley character, but it worked when she was chasing something, whether it was a title, whether it was revenge, whether she was facing adversity at the time, because that was the relatable thing, because she's supposed to relate to little kids. Oh, you can do it even though you're an underdog. That's her character. To where when she's chasing something, that's great. That's also why I don't think she really worked out as a champion, because she didn't have to chase anything. People were chasing her. To where with Sasha, I mean, hell, even if she's not a heel, her character is this snobby character. I mean, hell, she's called the boss.
Well, yeah. The natural heel.
Yes.
She is a natural heel. Her character does not have any essence of babyface.
To where, to your point, well, if her character is literally a heel, why not turn her heel? Yeah.
To get Bailey over, again, we talked about we had to turn Sasha face to go against the heel Charlotte, and it was formidable foes. When they first started this whole tease, they had months to pull the trigger. And what's happened since then is, although their personalities still against each other would clash, Bailey's whole thing is, I'm the underdog chasing the title, this and this and this. No, everybody counts against me. Well, now you're trying to put this big program against Sasha, and Sasha has lost all of her momentum at this point.
Yep.
So it's, okay, cool. Okay, like before when they were fighting, it was Sasha is like so much better than her, right? So Bailey's finally going to get over the hump and get to that title, and then they move. So now it's, okay, Sasha was still hot for a while. You could have went 3-4 months with this and then did it, but they went a year. And in that 6 to 8 months, Sasha became irrelevant. And not just irrelevant, the actual person that she is became more and more known by the actual WWE universe. And now they're like, I don't give a shit about Sasha. They did it to themselves. Again, this was the case where they waited entirely too long to make this move.
And the sad part of it is, too, is that not only did they botch that, but the whole thing, too, is they also took so much momentum away from her by not letting her keep a championship for longer than a month.
That's a great point.
They killed her. The very first time they took the belt off of her was Charlotte. Okay, I can understand because she did take an injury at SummerSlam. That's understandable. It was inaudible. The second time they did it made no sense because they took the belt off of her in Boston just so that they can do tit for tat, and she beat her in Charlotte. Then just to lose the title at Roadblock back to Charlotte. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, a belt is not a fucking volleyball that goes back and forth across the net. You fucking keep the belt because it's an important prop, and you give it to somebody that you have some kind of level of trust in. What does that say about the wrestler when you take the belt off of her like this?
I didn't hate that, though, because if you look at things from a realistic perspective, they're trying to be realistic. Take MMA, for instance. How long do guys hold title belts?
Not long.
Like, a couple fights maybe. Some people win them and lose them the next fight. So, in reality, like, if you have two people who are formidable foes like that, who happen to be the top of their game fighting for the title, it's very common sense and logical that they could trade the belt back and forth for a while. I didn't hate that.
As much as the Alexa Bliss one?
What's that?
The Alexa Bliss title change, which was pointless when she only held it for a week, and then they put the belt back on Alexa Bliss. The fourth time they did that was stupid.
Yeah,
that was
I agree with that
completely
one.
I think
pointless.
Chrome is talking about mainly the back and forth between Sasha and Charlotte, correct?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. And I'll take it a step further. I think the main reason why they did it, and it's stupid to be honest, at least in this point,
To catch her up to her daddy.
yes, they want her eventually to break the record. So that's when they did it, early in the career to where they can sweep it under the rug 5, 6, 7 years from now because, no one's going to remember. And it's like, oh, wait, she has 16 title wins. And it's like, oh, wait, 5 of them came in a month. You know what I mean? It's like that. They're setting it up for that. That's why they did it.
We're about to have a run-in.
And hey.
It's a wet run-in, too, buddy. Little rainy out?
Oh, great.
No, but I just think I'd lost interest in that
Well,
program.
yeah, that's what happens when you take what could have been a slow year build up and you try to cram it into a month worth of build up. It's just like, it's not going to work. It just won't work. A square peg does not fit into a round hole. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. WWE seems to fucking think it does, you know?
And you know, we're not going to go too crazy into the men's Elimination Chamber match. We've already kind of touched on it. The only thing I'm going to say, I told you Roman was going to win.
Yeah, we all did.
Oh, yeah.
Told you Roman was going to win.
Sorry, Mike.
So, sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Mikey was
I
so
wanted
he's
Braun,
not
too.
going to win.
I
Yeah,
wanted Braun.
Hey, listen, Braun might end up in that match.
Yeah.
Great point.
Brodo, you booked WrestleMania for us.
I did.
He's got it. He's going to pull out his card for us. Let's hear how you're booking WrestleMania 34. So again, we're gonna make this a thing every week or every other week up until WrestleMania. One of us is going to take it, and we're going to either take the existing card as it fills up, and then as there's open spots, we'll take what it looks like it's going to be. We're going to book it, And then we're going to book – are you booking winners still?
Yep.
So we're going to book who we have winning as to why we're going to have them winning.
So we'll take a deep – total I have 14 matches, 4 pre-show, 10 main card. And just tell me each one if it's lazy booking, good booking, your thoughts on it as well.
Yes.
So I will start bottom to top. We'll build it up just like a normal card.
All right.
The pre-show will kick off with the Cruiserweight Championship. Obviously, they are in a tournament at the moment. It's pretty much the second coming of the original tournament, the Cruiserweight, the Cruiserweight Classic.
Correct.
So I have the finalists being Roderick Strong versus Mustafa Ali.
Okay.
And it was tough to pick that one because, first off, I feel like they completely botched the bracket. I feel like there's certain guys like TJP, who I'm not a big fan of, but it seems like all of the big names were on the one side. So I obviously have Roderick Strong coming up on top. I think he has more of a fan base. Nothing against Mustafa Ali, but obviously Roderick Strong, he has the NXT feed, and I don't feel like they would have thrown him on there if they were not going to put the belt on him.
What I'll say is good booking. I think Strong is probably – if you want to put the title on somebody who's going to be able to carry it, someone who's a hot name, and Strong is definitely somebody that people are paying attention to. He's been a good wrestler for a long time. I'm going to say it's good booking, but clearly if you're booking that as the finals, it's 1,000% pre-show worthy.
Yep. And I was thinking about putting Drew Gulak on there, and that's probably going to be Gulak facing Roderick Strong.
I'd be totally game for that. Hell, I like Gulak so much right now that I would put that on the main card.
I would.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that's deserving.
Let me say
that.
I would consider putting that on the main card. And I also believe they dropped the ball by not putting Aries and Neville on the main card. And I hate the Cruiserweight division, by the way. So for me to say that means something. I would consider putting Gulak and Strong on the main card.
They also dropped the ball by having him lose, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Too.
So this is where it gets tricky, and Maddie, you did a good job of letting me know this before the show, so I kind of tweaked it a little bit. So I read last night that they're thinking about either not doing the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year or having 2 Battle Royals in the show, including a women's Battle Royal, because I thought about it when I was booking stuff.
It's the year of first, guys.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do, so I'm not leaving something out, I'm going to book
Andrea the Giant Battle Royal.
Exactly. I'm going to book 2 Battle Royals. I'm going to give you booking for the men's and the women's. So I'll start with Andre, and I'll just give you the final 2 and the winner. The final 2 is Chad Gable and Rusev. I have Rusev winning.
Yes.
Rusev
Day.
It's good booking
Day.
to me. He's the most of both brands. Rusev is a guy who is over now. You don't have to put him in a crazy spot on Mania, but could get a huge reaction.
Well, exactly. Especially, that's the main reason why I did it.
Especially
Number
if
one,
Roman Reigns is winning the title.
Yes. Well, I think it will reward him for the great stuff he's been doing with Rusev Day, because they really haven't had the opportunity to really do anything with that except for just making it a comedy bit. 2, that WrestleMania crowd, they are, the hardcore fans. What's going to get a bigger reaction? Rusev winning or Chad Gable, who we like, eliminating Rusev Day?
Yeah, 100%.
It's Rusev Day that's going to win, in my opinion, and should win.
That's good booking.
Women's Battle Royal, I have a stipulation. It will be for a future number 1 contenders match. Okay. So it's not just going to be a throwaway thing.
Ooh.
Sir?
Our NXT star is going to be in this.
Yes, they will.
All right, then. Go right ahead.
But I do not have an NXT star winning.
Oh.
Because that would make too much sense, and I could not put that in here. Because I have to keep things realistic.
I was going to make a great guess, too. Damn.
So my final 3 competitors are 3 of the 4 WWE horsewomen, actually.
Okay.
It's Sasha, it's Bayley, and it's Becky Lynch. So it seems like, Bayley's going to win this. I have Becky Lynch winning. Because I feel like they really haven't done much with her. Obviously, I think I like Becky Lynch. And for me, I think Sasha needs it the most. But then that would make it 3 times in a row that Sasha got the upper hand on Bayley. And I think that would crush the Bayley character.
Is this the Battle Royal?
Yes.
Nia wins it. I think Nia wins that. I don't
think
think
Nia's a little busy in
your booking.
Yes.
So
but I see what you're saying.
I'm saying if I'm saying I don't see anybody other than I don't think Nia personally gets onto the main card, so I'm going to say it's not bad booking. I just don't see that happening. I would say Nia, and I think Sasha and Bayley are going to be a little bit busy, so I don't think they're going to be able to be.
I know where you're going with this.
See, I'm going to say actually an NXT star wins this. leading
Kairi
to
Sane.
leading down the road. I'm not saying that this happens immediately after that, because that number one contendership does not have to be immediate. You play that off to then she gets the number one contendership and she faces Asuka somewhere down the line in a match.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't see.
I mean, it's going to be a while.
I just don't see them waiting. Like, if she wins a number one contender match, you can't have her sit.
It's
in
not like the
NXT.
Money in the Bank to where you can wait for the Money in the Bank.
Right. I mean, they'll have NXT stars in it. Probably Kairi Sane will probably be one. Shannon Baszler.
But here's the thing, though. What's to say that it can't be? You know, what's to say that it stops you from being able to do that? Because
So how is that fair that if Becky wins, Becky can go and get her title match in
The next week on
the
SmackDown.
next week or
Yeah.
the next month, but because you're in NXT, yeah, you won, but you have to wait for your match.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she can choose when she wants to use it.
Well, that's
No.
that's literally the Money in the
It's
Bank
the Money in the
briefcase.
Bank, yeah.
I get that, but it's just like, you know, I know they do women's Money in the Banks now, but I'm thinking, like, it might not be a bad idea to try it just because of the fact that why don't just surprise the fans one day?
Well,
and just say, holy shit, this
how
actually
about-
is going to happen.
How about this, Maddie? We'll agree to disagree.
All right.
A to D.
I see what you're saying. Then I didn't want to do this, but off of past years and kind of, I don't want to say there's not room for it because that would be disrespectful to the wrestlers and to the title. In the pre-show, the final pre-show match, I have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. I don't
No.
want to do it.
The Usos are going to be on the main card this year.
I hope so.
The fact that they've highlighted the fact that they haven't been on the main card in an amazing promo between them and the New Day, by the way. If you haven't seen it on SmackDown, go back and watch it. Awesome promo. And by the way, awesome to finally to see. I love the New Day. I hate the pancake thing. It's annoying. It's so dumb. It's made them to be just like over the top goofy. Like the Bootios was funny.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't like over the top. Now they're like, oh my God, don't touch my pancake. Like in the mid match, they're distracted if somebody drops a pancake on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's now gotten goofy. But I loved seeing Big E and Jimmy J, whatever fucking one they were. But seeing the
You
one,
love the Usos, but you don't.
the one married to Trinity, the one married to her, Naomi. I love. That's her real name.
Yeah.
Oh.
I loved seeing them.
He watches Total Divas.
I do.
Oh.
Trin. It's
yeah,
Trin.
Trin.
Okay.
I love seeing them actually have a serious like promo moment there, and actually and highlighting the fact that the Usos haven't been on the main card.
So I have the Usos facing the New Day
Okay.
and Harper and Rowan in a triple threat.
I agree with that. I think that's a good. I just think it'll be on the main card.
And,
But I
and
agree
like,
with that.
And like I said, this is stuff I'm not fantasy booking. This is stuff I can see happening and how I would spin it.
Here's the thing, though. I see that as the ladder match. Because it's going to happen.
Could be.
That probably will be the ladder match.
Could be.
I have the Usos retaining. So I do not have – because it's too early for Harper and Rowan. They don't have the backing yet by the crowd. I mean, hell, when they friggin' showed up on SmackDown and everyone was like, who the hell is this? Like, there was nothing.
If I was to book it on your card, I personally don't think you can put Harper and Rowan in a title match and not have them win. That's just me. I think so. If I'm not putting the belts on them, I don't put them in that match. But I see that match happening.
The only
I
reason
think
why
that
I
they'll-
don't, it's because they don't have to take a pin, so they won't really lose anything.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? You know,
That's true.
Given that the New Day is a 3-person team, they can literally do what they do to people do to Braun Strowman or Brock Lesnar all the time, and they just put both of them through a table. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or the announce table.
It's fair
so
enough. Fair enough.
now we start the main card, okay? And we lead off with a ladder match, just not a tag ladder match. We have a U.S. title ladder match.
That's where I think the ladder match
Yes,
is
I
going to be.
100% think so. Because
Could be the tag match, but I think it's going to be the U.S.
there are so many SmackDown superstars that are just doing nothing at the moment. Hell, we have like a 7-man WWE title match at the moment. We know what direction that's going in. So I have basically, not to pick up the scraps from that, but I have Bobby Roode facing Baron Corbin, facing Ty Dillinger, facing Jinder Mahal, facing Randy Orton, facing Dolph Ziggler. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
Which
Partridge
is
in a pear
typically
That's
tree.
the
around what
standard,
it usually
yes.
is. Yeah, I like it. Who do you have winning?
This was tough for me, but I think it's so early. I have Bobby Roode retaining it. I know it goes over well having a new champion kicking off a WrestleMania. I know that's how it usually has gone in the past. I think it is way too early to take it off of Bobby Roode. I get it. He will not be pinned. I understand that. I think he's just getting started with that.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing, though, because of all the guys in there, no one really needs it because all of them have held
Well,
it. So
There's
it's
one guy
like-
that would need it more.
Well,
That's Ty
Ty.
Dillinger.
All right, yeah, there is Dillinger, but the thing is, he's been so poorly booked. No one legitimately thinks he would win it.
He is in the
So-
spot that Zack Ryder was in a few years ago, to where it's like the shocking underdog, type of a win. But I don't have that happening.
No,
I have
not
Bobby
with
Roode.
Dillinger. Not the way they've been booking him.
I would like to see Bobby Roode win it. I could actually see Ziggler winning that.
Ziggler.
Makes sense.
Ziggler winning. He never lost it. Coming back, it's the WrestleMania moment. Yada yada yada. Whatever.
Well, then, would you see them for the rest of the year trading it off like Owens and AJ Styles did last year?
I hope not.
Well, see, this is why I also keep it with Bobby Roode, and we were talking about this with actually the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, to where I've been always saying that they really don't make it anything. It's kind of just a throwaway.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
to
they
get
can make
people's
it,
names on the card.
They can make it mean something. So Rusev wins it, and then he shows up the next few weeks on SmackDown, and then he goes into a program with Bobby Roode, and he could say, "I am the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, winner. I will once again reclaim my glory over the United States with the U.S. title."
And
could.
And
Or-
my first decree as the new leader of the U.S. is every day will be Rusev Day.
exactly. It will start a program, Rusev versus Bobby Roode.
Could do that, or by winning the Battle Royal, he could get a spot in the ladder match.
It's a good point.
That's true.
It's a good point.
And then Rusev Day could be all day.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I like that.
Rusev Day.
So now we move on to the second match, which is, and I said that Nia would be a little busy, and I haven't strayed from this for a while. It will be the Raw Women's Championship. It will be Alexa Bliss with Mickie James, because I think, and this is kind of like an add-on. First off, I think it gives Mickie James something to do. I understand she could be in the Battle Royal, but I think Alexa Bliss's character does really well when she has a friend with her.
Yeah.
And I feel like if it was just Alexa versus Nia, I think it's already a no contest. I think to have Mickie James, that outside perspective to kind of distract Nia a few times to make this match a little bit longer, I think that would work. Because honestly, I have this match being like 5 minutes.
I noticed a certain name is not there, so we'll get to that later in the card, I guess.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So I have Nia Jax winning, and she will be the new Raw Women's Champion.
Okay.
Now we move on, and this may be my least favorite match in the entire card because it's kind of just thrown in there because it wouldn't make sense to do anything else. It is a loser leaves SmackDown match, and it is Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. The reason why I put the stipulation on there, it's because we've seen Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn so many times to where I wouldn't throw them in an Andre Battle Royal because I think that's a shame for them because they've been working hard. They've been doing their own thing. There's no room for them in the U.S. title ladder match unless you wanted to have a 10-man ladder match.
Right.
Also, I feel like it could lead to storylines with Daniel Bryan and Shane. Maybe that could be something to where each one in their corner, or it could just be one of them saying, hey, you know what, guys? There's no longer room for both of you on this show. Whoever loses, leaves SmackDown. And then I'm sure people were like, oh, Ryan, you're just going to get rid of one of them? No, the guy who loses shows up on Raw. Because I think they're going to start flipping a little bit. Superstars, not a shakeup, just certain guys are going to move. Mm-hmm. I actually have Sami Zayn winning this match. That way Kevin Owens goes to Raw, and then he shows up, and he will be a face. Because you can't have Sami Zayn lose, because that would completely... I mean, he had a storyline where he said he hated Raw when he was on Raw.
Yeah.
So why put him back there?
Well, I mean, he can come back as a heel, but
Yes.
I think that Owens can take the loss more than Sami Zayn can. So if you do that, yeah, I would book the same way. I would say Sami Zayn wins that match. Yeah. I mean, I have no problem seeing these guys. It's a fight forever scenario.
Yeah,
for
and
me and
you
them.
know it's a good match, and it could...
And I do think by changing the dynamic of having Owens be the face, they've never done that anywhere that they've had a feud outside of a WWE product. It's always been El Generico, the face, versus the heel Kevin Steen. So they could still carry a different dynamic, I think these guys, if booked the right way, problem they have now is overexposure, could be the next Brett versus Shawn.
Agreed.
Through their entire career, every level, from opening card to mid card to main event.
Then I have the Raw Tag Team Championship, the Bar versus the Woken Hardys, because Jeff Hardy is going to be coming back any time now. We've been hearing that his return is imminent. I think they are keeping. Remember when we were talking last week, or I believe I don't know if we did it on air or off air. We were talking about why are they keeping Matt Hardy strong. I think we talked about this before Birds of the Feather. And I said, I think they're saving him for something. Is it merch sales, or are they saving him for something? I think they're kind of keeping him busy, and then it's very interesting. And I know you have a theory about who the Bar will be facing.
Yes.
Because you had said the one thing was they made it very notable that they've beaten everybody, and who was left for them to beat? Well, they haven't beaten the Hardys yet, especially the Woken Hardys. And I feel like in the first...
Well, they did.
The Woken
Correct.
Hardys?
They beat
Not
the
Woken
Hardys.
Hardys.
They haven't beat the
Woken
Woken ones. I mean, but here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
There has been the rumor of the ultimate deletion at WrestleMania. So I don't know what that exactly entails, though, whether it involves the Bar or whether it involves somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. My theory, I don't know if I should put it out there now or hold off on it. I think War Machine could be a possibility. Bypass NXT and head right to the main card.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, War Machine. It's a badass tag team that the Bar has never faced anybody like them. It wouldn't surprise me. I could see either or.
Now, for those out there who are WWE
The
fans
Woken Hardys
and they
win
have
that, though.
never seen NJPW, War Machine is basically two Bam Bam Bigelows. Two big guys that can do moonsaults, backflips, you name it, they can do it.
Agile as shit, yeah.
So I would have the Woken Hardys go over the Bar. They would be new champs.
I agree.
Now we move on to the Intercontinental Championship. And this could be, there's a lot of interesting things that go into it, given what we talked about earlier, obviously, before the show. So I have a fatal four-way match with The Miz, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman would be a late add-on because of certain other things that are happening outside of the ring, obviously. I would have the new champ be Finn Balor because Braun Strowman won't take the pin. It'll be the typical Braun Strowman is thrown through 3 tables on fire this time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'll be ran over by an ambulance or 2, so he won't be available.
Okay.
Seth Rollins, he'll be busy after WrestleMania. He'll be busy after that. And Miz would take the pin. And then that would go into a 1v1 feud with Miz and Finn because they've been tweeting at each other with this mixed match challenge. I think that's testing stuff to give in their chemistry. That could happen. Or, say I have 2 options. Either Finn can win clean or his 2 pals, Carl Anthony Towns.
Wow.
Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows.
Thanks for joining us on the Fix, guys.
Anderson and Gallows show up, and they take Braun out of the match. And that could lead to teasing a heel turn, which I would like to see sooner rather than later.
That's possible, but you know what? Remember what we were saying about last week between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor? What if Balor or Rollins pinned each other and they took the Intercontinental title? Yeah, you would have the Miz to contend with, but you could still do the Braun-Miz angle that will keep him out of the title picture for the time being. You can have those 2 rival over the Intercontinental title for the coming months. That'll change things up at least a little bit so it isn't the Miz constantly holding the belt.
Which I really like. The only reason why I don't have that happening, I just have different directions for Seth moving forward. I think he's moving on to something bigger.
So you're being main event picture.
Do you
maybe.
have,
maybe.
Is Elias on your card?
He's in the battle royal.
Oh, no.
I know. I don't like it either.
Okay.
I don't like it either.
No. I would put Elias in this match.
Fatal 5-way?
Fatal 5-way or 4-way and take Braun out, but I would put him in. I don't see Braun winning this match.
No.
Balor or Miz retaining would probably be the 2 options I would look at. I think Balor winning the title would be cool, so I would go with that.
Then I
think Miz has bigger things on the horizon this year, too.
Agreed. Yeah. Then we have Rousey and Angle versus Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. We kind of touched on this earlier. I think it's very obvious which direction it's going to go. I think they're going to aim to make Ronda look very strong. Obviously, she's going to get the pin and or submission over Steph. They might have a dual thing with Kurt Angle having Triple H in an ankle lock, and they both tap at the same time. It's Ronda and Kurt. Yeah. There's not much else to say. I think the next night on Raw, Paul Heyman comes out, and then they join forces.
That would be sweet. I'd be down with that.
Then we move on to, and I think this is going to be highly controversial.
Oh, we're stirring it up.
Well, it's John Cena versus The Undertaker, but it has a stipulation. If Cena loses, he retires. I know. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. But
well, they could do a retirement match period for both of them.
Yes, true. The only reason why I have this happening, I think it could lead to some great promos and segments leading up to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I could lead to some promos with John Cena and Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels had a retirement match with The Undertaker, and Shawn couldn't come out and say, dude, it's not worth it. Do not put your career on this. I understand you know what I mean? So, because John's storyline will be, well, I failed to make my own path to WrestleMania. I failed to win the title at Fastlane. I need to prove myself, and Undertaker will be the key.
Now, if I'm doing this, I actually think if they actually do these two against each other, just for the fans' sanity, they should announce it's a retirement match. Mm-hmm. So that when The Undertaker loses, we actually know The Undertaker is done.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, I'm being honest, I don't hate that idea. I definitely think that a retirement match would be a good booking, just to give us all a peace of fucking mind.
Yes.
To relax.
Yeah. Like, okay, it's done. It's done now.
And which, by the way, 35 in a New York market is the perfect place to put Undertaker in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Now that he's officially retired.
Mm-hmm. So now we have SmackDown Women's Championship. It is getting a big-time slot after, obviously, it's going to be later than the Rousey match, later than the Undertaker match.
Well, they did that last year, too.
Yes, because I think it's going to be booked as a big-time match.
Yeah.
It's Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. And I have Asuka winning because, like we talked about for weeks, I don't see them having Asuka lose for a long, and I mean long time. I think it's going to be a incredible match. I think it's going to go on for a while. I think it deserves that time slot, so I have Asuka winning.
See, the only thing I would say is, and as great as it would be to see Charlotte and Asuka face off, it would be, I think they're really setting up Asuka to eventually face off with Ronda. Eventually.
Yeah.
It's a well ways down the road from now, but I just don't see them taking her off of Raw for that reason alone.
Well, again, I mean, I talked about this. You could have it a ways down the road at Survivor Series when Ronda's the Raw champion and Asuka's the SmackDown champion.
What month is that, by the way?
November.
Survivor. That's a long time.
Exactly.
That is a long time.
And
yeah,
two,
true.
Ronda could beat her, and it won't be controversial because it's going to be almost a calendar year in which Ronda is a WWE wrestler.
It's at least a half.
Well, I think, 9 months?
A little over half a year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go.
I'm trying to do math in my head real quick. I can't. My brain doesn't work.
All right, so 2 more matches. We have the
Michael Kleinkoff says, "I love Stacy Keibler. I do. I love her legs. Legs for days, bro.
I'll put her in the Battle Royal." We have the WWE Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Not much to say here. We've been talking about it for 3 years. It's going to be done. Roman Reigns wins.
Roman wins.
Boy, it takes them 3 years to finish a storyline.
It's so sad because like all the explanations with the small matches that has more explanations. The big ones is like, yeah, we know what's happening.
Right.
And finally, to close out the show, it actually makes sense. It's AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura is your new WWE champion. And the SmackDown after WrestleMania, we talked about Ronda getting a visitor on Raw. Mm-hmm. That same visitor is going to be visiting Nakamura. Paul Heyman will become the advocate for Shinsuke Nakamura.
Perfect, because that way you don't have to put the mic on Shinsuke.
Once Brock is gone, Paul Heyman will have a lot of Paul Heyman guys and gals.
He could bring back the Dangerous Alliance, a modern day Dangerous Alliance.
That'd be fun to
ladies
see.
and gentlemen, that is WrestleMania 34.
Okay.
Not bad. Not a bad card. I think I would enjoy it. For the most part, I would enjoy that if I had actually came to fruition.
Yeah, if put it this way, I wished that would be the card at WrestleMania. Sadly, it won't be. But,
if I'm looking at the overall perspective of that, I'm saying that is not lazy booking.
Well, thank you, sir.
No.
Thank you.
Couple points because I know we're running up on time here. Quickly, obviously, Bobby Lashley back with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the idea originally was to do a Brock Lesnar program with him. Now he might be the new Brock Lesnar. We'll see. I think it's a great signing for them. A lot of people who I saw made comments during the week were talking about how bad Bobby Lashley is in the ring and on the mic. And then when you actually have a conversation with them, they're going by how he was 10 years ago in the company. Have you seen what he's done in TNA? He's actually pretty damn good on the mic and pretty damn good in the ring now. So it's a steal for them. It's a good one. We'll save Gronk for next week's. So there's been rumors that the Gronk thing's picking up steam, obviously. We touched on Hardy, and I think the last thing really was the Roman steroid issue. I know it's something we want to talk more about, but I'll jump in on it real quick because we're pressed for time. Obviously, there's been reports out that we all know that Roman's been rumored to have taken steroids. WWE is now, and this is where it comes into your booking, might change.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Apparently, Braun's program has not been solidified, which is why he's been kind of all over the place because he's the backup plan. Now, whether he's going to be implemented into this match as a third man and a triple threat, or with Brock having his dates run down and with Roman's name on this list, and apparently there's hard evidence that's out there that could come out any day. And it's not just him. They've mentioned Mark Wahlberg, Josh Duhamel, to name a few. Guys in Hollywood, different sports, everything. There's serious concerns to the point where WWE is seriously concerned that if this comes out, they need to have a contingency plan because this could ruin the WrestleMania. So Braun is the backup plan. So something to keep an eye on. We could definitely touch on more. I'm sure more is going to come out over the next week. I wanted to make sure to at least throw it in there in the end if anybody wants to read up on it. But, apparently there's recorded conversations. There may be receipts and stuff out there. There's also mentioned that there could be up to 15 WWE names. And, again, multiple athletes, multiple people in Hollywood, up to 15 names. A lot of it's crazy. One person who hasn't been with the company since 2015 but spent about $200,000 on steroids. Yeah. So follow that story, guys. We'll dig into it next week. I'll pull up a little more research.
Big scandal.
But yeah, so guys, stay tuned. In about a half an hour, we got Hockey Happy Hour. The greatest hair in the business. He's sticking right here on the couch. Thank you, Ryan, for producing a great show. Maddie, as always, I enjoyed it, guys. Thank you for the comments, especially driving that first half of the freaking show, man. You guys killed it. Thank you, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, all you guys. Next week, we'll jump back into it. We'll have our Fastlane preview. Maddie, let's get some sponsors out here, buddy.
All right, well, Lazy Booking was brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants. They're located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA, and you can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Hey, remember, there's very few guarantees in life. Taxes are one of them. So be ready, be prepared, get Gibson Mayer.
Thanks again for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week. Smell you later.